Hi guys, Ayna Paisley here. I'm a painter from Russia, Moscow, Russia, and today I will try to record a little video tutorial for you using this beautiful beautiful set of brushes, Zenartsupplies brushes. These were sent to me by this lovely company, and they are very high quality brush. I actually have a whole unpackaging video that I filmed, and you can find it on my YouTube channel. It's a very detailed review of these beautiful and luscious brushes. They come in two different types of bristles, and today we're going to be using the Badger ones. These are Cold Badger mix bristles. I'm not sure if we're going to use all of them. Pretty much sure we're not going to use the smallest ones, but nevertheless we're going to try to use most of them for our work. And today we're going to be creating a really simple but yet really interesting landscape. And also I'm going to be using some acrylic paint. It really doesn't matter which ones are you using. Mine is a variety. I use Liquitex, I use golden, I use like this type of acrylic paints. Pretty much doesn't matter which acrylics you're using. And also the paper is this acrylic paper that I'm using. It's paper for acrylics. Pretty much looks like watercolor paper, a little textured, pretty thick to be able to sustain the water. So it will be pretty simple. It's like this distant field view that I really like creating. I actually have a couple of paintings that look like this, and they're really easy to create, and yet the result is pretty amazing. And this time we're going to be painting this field that is full of wild red flowers, I guess poppies or something, doesn't really matter. And as you can see, the sketch is really simple. It's just this field that we're going to fill with colors and flowers, and there's some distant, I guess, trees, the horizontal line, and some sky, which is pretty small. This is the composition that we're going to be using. And first, what I like to do is take a bigger brush like this and use bright underpainting. How about orange? Orange is nice too. So I'm just diluting it with, I wouldn't say a lot of water, because this paper wouldn't take too much water very well. So just, you know, regular amount of water, and I'm just putting some of the paint on, rubbing it in pretty chaotically. And the goal here is to tone the paper. So I'm putting it pretty much everywhere like this. And now we'll have to wait until it dries completely, which is pretty quick because this water sucks in this paper sucks in the water pretty quickly. Also using a little piece of cloth to wipe my brushes from excess water, because it's very important when you paint with acrylics is not to dilute it with a lot of water. Sometimes you need this, but most of the time, especially for the finishing layers, you want the acrylic to be really luscious and pigmented. So now I'm going to use a little hair dryer to just dry it quicker. So it's really important to dry off your paper completely, because if it would be wet, the paper would just, you know, be messed up from all the work that we're about to do. And so next thing I do is I use this cool angle brush. We're not going to be using too much colors or difficult mixes of colors. It's just going to be something simple, but nevertheless I need something to mix it on. So I'm using this tear off palettes that are pretty cool because I don't need to wash them. I'm a lazy person, I don't want to wash my palette. So first what we're going to do is put on our first layer of the landscape, which is going to be this horizontal line, right? The land line over there, distant one, and it's going to be darker than everything else. So I'm going to choose a darker color, which probably would be a mix of, what is this? No. A mix of indigo blue with a tad bit of cobalt blue just to make it a little lighter, but not too light, so don't overdo it. So it's gonna be like a beautiful, beautiful blue color. And what I'm gonna do is take maybe a little bit more water than I would usually, and just put this right on top here. And you don't really need for it to be beautiful or accurate, because later we're gonna come back with some more work on top and make it look neat. So don't worry if it's a little messy. It's not supposed to look like beautiful. It's just supposed to be the base. And then I'm gonna use some green color. This is deep green permanent from Liquid-X. And I'm gonna put some green right on top. It's already dried a little bit, so it's good for us to layer some of the colors here. And again, don't try to make it pretty. So that's done. And while this is drying, I'm gonna start working on the bottom of our field. So to create depth in such a flat surface as a field that doesn't have anything going on except for flowers, we're gonna be using this little trick where we're making the front of our field, the one that's closer to us, a little darker. So for that, I'm using the same mixture that I'm using here, only I'm adding maybe a little bit more of that deep green. And basically it's this bluish green that I'm going to be using, and I'm putting this all over here. And don't worry again about it looking pretty or neat. It doesn't have to be. And what I like about the underpainting, you can see that it's peeking through our layers, and it's creating certain interest in colors, which is pretty cool, I think. And again, I'm mixing a little bit of that green and just putting more, even more darker. Make it even darker. It's okay. Just don't overdo it. Just don't make it too dark. It still needs to be vibrating with some underpainting colors, you know, just don't overdo it. Like this is enough. And then I'm going to be taking that same deep green and use it without mixing it with anything at all. Just clean green. And I'm going to be using a more or less thin layer. Still maybe diluting it with a little bit more water than I would usually do, and just putting it on this medium part of our field, right? A little higher than what we painted already. And again, just putting it on. And here in the distant area, what I'm going to be doing is using that same green, the deep green, and then put in a little bit of this brilliant yellow green to make it even lighter. But don't overdo it. It still needs to be not so light. Still needs to be pretty deep green. And don't worry, we're still gonna be doing more layers to this, so it's gonna look a little different in the end anyway. And here I want you to do like maybe a tad bit of green here and there to mix it up with the medium layer that we just put, and a little bit right over here. And here you have to be a little more accurate with this line, because probably this is how it's gonna look and how you're gonna work around it. So it needs to be pretty straight. Right here you need to pay a little more attention on how you put your paint on. So it has to be more or less straight. But then again, I'm not using a ruler or anything. And then what I'm doing is I'm using my favorite green, which is this one, light green permanent. Lovely color, very vibrant green. Putting a pretty decent amount. And also, we'll fill in the flowers, which are going to be here. The most of the flowers are in this part. I'm going to be using this red, which is cadmium red. Beautiful color. Very vibrant. So I'm going to put in the flowers right here. This is going to be our flowers. And there's going to be some here, so don't worry, we're going to put that later. And right now we have this, you know, pretty much interesting, already looking like a landscape thing going on. It's pretty abstract, but this is what we want for our first layer. It's perfect. And now we're gonna get to that green a little later, the one that I already put in, which is the light green permanent. And now I want to fill in the skies a little bit, and I'm taking this beautiful, it's called pastel blue. Pastel blue, it's this beautiful cobalt, light cobalt blue color. It's amazing. And maybe I'll take a smaller brush here because I have a lot of delicate things going on here I have to be working on. So I'm taking this small brush, which is this one, number 6 filbert brush, and I'm using it straight out of the tube. You know, this paint is beautiful. I'm just diluting it with a little bit of water, just a tad bit, and putting this luscious color on. Look at how vibrant this blue is. It's beautiful. I also love, please notice the orange picking through the blue. That's why I love bright underpaintings. They're amazing. And what we want here is, again, just, you know, be a little more accurate maybe with your tree lines, and start, you know, putting in more details with your brush of how your trees are going to look like. But then again, you don't want it to be too pretty, too, you know, neat. Just a little bit, because it's so distant. We don't want it to be too pretty. I just love this technique with acrylics. It's so, you know, easy to paint. It's really fast because acrylic is drying so fast, which is sometimes nerve-wracking for beginners, but to be honest, it's so cool when you just want to create a beautiful vibrant painting and you don't want to work a lot with like layers, like oil or paint asks you to. So I love acrylic for that. And look at this, this is already looking like a landscape, maybe a little too rogue, but it is a landscape. So we're gonna go back in our field here, but before we do that, I really need to dry this layer off. So I'm gonna be using my hair dryer. Okay, so here be very careful with your first layer. It really needs to dry off completely, otherwise marks like this are gonna happen. This is where a little drop of water landed, and then acrylic totally was ruined. The acrylic layer was ruined, and this is why what happens when you don't wait for the acrylic to dry. Sorry for my phone. So now we're gonna create well, I wouldn't say a finishing layer, or maybe finishing, we're not sure. Well, we're just gonna work on the field a little bit more because it really needs some working. And for that, I'm gonna take this angle brush again, which is a perfect medium size for a painting of this size that you don't want to be get too detailed, which we don't want, to be honest. I'm not sure if I love too detailed painting. Sometimes I just like to capture, you know, the atmosphere, the feeling of whatever I'm painting. So I'm going with that, and it really requires not a lot of detail. So here I am using a big amount, like a pretty solid amount of this beautiful green, and I'm gonna go over this blue here, and what I'm using is a mix of deep green and this beautiful light green. We don't want it to be too light, so maybe I'm gonna add up a little bit of that blue again, because I still want it to be pretty deep green color. So I'm gonna go over, but again, I don't want to cover all of it, right? So I'm just going here and there, here and there. I'm leaving some darker patches. Maybe I'm in some light colors. I just want the strokes to be very lively. This is what I really aim for. So I don't want it to be very neat, right? That's what I talked about earlier. And now for this medium part, I'm going to be using a little more of that beautiful light green, which is very vivid, very beautiful green color. So I'm going to be going in with my brush. It's really just, don't take a lot of water. Here, it's really not necessary to take a lot of water. So I'm going to be using this beautiful green. And again, here and there, don't put a lot. Don't try to cover everything. Just leave some of the colors going on. This is what creates depth and vibration in your painting. And you can see that the depth is already created. And now I'm going to use the mixture of this beautiful deep green color and a little bit of this bright aqua green color. I'm just going to put on some right here, and maybe just create some of the texture, you know, in this flower field, so it doesn't look so solid, because it's the flowers, right? There's supposed to be a little bit here, a little bit there. And I'm gonna go in later with more layers to the flowers, but now I want it to be looking something like this, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, and maybe I'll put some of that beautiful diluted light color here, and again play a little bit with this red area that I have of the flowers, and mix in some of that light green in this beautiful green vivid field. A little bit here, a little bit there. And we're gonna come up with some red flowers here as well, so don't worry. It's not gonna look like a red stripe in the middle of the field out of nowhere. So what I'm gonna be doing next is I'm gonna use this lighter blue color, which is King's Blue Light. It's called. It's basically like a little lighter than this blue color. And I'm gonna put some on my brush and then on the palette and dilute it with water, a little bit of water, not too much. And then put some right here, like right where your trees are, because you know the sky is a little brighter towards the where the land meets the sky, so I have to show that a little bit. Maybe don't go in too much, just a little here and there. And then I'm going to take the same color of the sky that we used here, which is a little darker, and then go over with another layer. But again, don't use, it doesn't need to be too thick, because you want this orange still to peek through here and there. And please mind that when you're working, the acrylic tend to get darker when it gets dried. So whenever you paint, just please mind this. So I really like the sky that came up, I think, just right. So I'm gonna, I think, stop here with the sky. Maybe we're gonna add a little more clouds later, but I really need to work on that field and flowers now. So please make sure that your layer is completely dry. It's very important. Remember, you don't want any holes or just accidents happening in your work right now at the finishing layer. So our finishing layer, we're going to be working a little more on these flowers. And I really like the red that's already created, but we need to add a little light in it. So we show that these flowers are actually having some, you know, just light and shadows going on. So I'm going to be trying, I'm going to find this red that I was using and just add a little bit of white in it. And that would be perfect, but just don't add too much. Or even, instead of white, you can use just a yellow and make it a little orangey, which is going to be perfect as well. And then we're going to be using this smaller badger brush again, which is number 6. And just go in with this lighter color and just, you know, put it here and there, here and there. You really don't need to put it everywhere. Or maybe even make it a little more lighter, because it's going to get darker. So here and there, just, you know, indicate some light that's falling on these flowers, and they're fading in color a little bit on the light. But just don't add too much, otherwise it's not gonna look great. And then I'm taking that same color and I'm gonna put some flowers, you know, a little bit in the field as well. So I'm gonna go and put some shadows and maybe some of the red flowers here, just, you know, just a little bit, not a lot. And just don't put them everywhere, you know, just choose a little corner that you want to be the accent and put it over there. So it doesn't really matter that there's green in there. It creates some sort of interest and shadows. It's good. Maybe I'm going to use my finger to smudge the harsh corners a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with some more light. Maybe I'll add a little orange to it as well. What the heck. and just create this abstract feel that there's flowers there, you know? We don't need to be very accurate, we don't need to be very neat with whatever we're trying to show. It's just like the idea of, you know, some bright red flowers that are happening there, which is, you know, just nice to look at. And maybe I'll go in with this smaller brush and put in some details, you know, some brighter flowers that are happening like this. You know, these little flowers that just are happening here and there, that are not in this big massive field, but still are, you know, there. Just don't put a lot, so it doesn't look like separate dots. You really have to be careful with this technique now to not put a lot of these dots. Just like this, a little bit here and there. Maybe what I want is even take and smudge them a little bit so they don't look like, you know, there's too many going on there. A little more. And then I'm going to take the same brush again, the number 6, and put in some more of this light green mixed with vivid green. Remember? The mix of bright aqua green and light green permanent. I don't want it to be too bright. I want it to be the same color as is already there. And I'm going to, you know, just smudge it up a little bit. Just like this. You don't need to smudge all of it, just a little bit, so it doesn't look like it's cut out of the field. Just a little bit. Or maybe I'm gonna get rid of this because it kind of looks like there's a pattern there, and there's no pattern. It's really flowers just growing, you know. And then just come up with some brighter red. Just even using the bigger brush, doesn't matter now. And then maybe, which the idea came to me right now, there's a little house sitting up there. That would be cute. With a little bit of this titanium, buff titanium deep it's called, or sand color. Like this. Okay, we don't want it to be too... I'll just use this smaller brush to add in details. I'm going to take some of this red and mix with this white that I just created, and I'm going to put a little roof here. You know, just a cute little house. And very, very distant. Just like so. I like how it looks. So cute. And maybe we're gonna add a little more of that green, just, you know, to sit it in the area. And some of the darker here, just to work on a little bit of details of that little house. A little too much water here. So I'm gonna put in some of the details here, you know, so it looks like a house and not just some white thing going on there. It's a little house. Oh, very bright, but why not? Okay, that'll do. Okay, maybe there's a little window somewhere there. Just a tiny one. There you go. I think we're done here. I mean, you can obviously work a little more on the details, but I like the raw unfinished look of this. So hopefully you enjoyed the video tutorial. It wasn't really difficult. I really believe that Zenartsupplies brushes are good, and this is not advertised. Zenartsupplies are not paying me. They just send me this for a really honest review, and that's what I'm doing, giving you guys an honest review. And I like how this set has the different types of brushes. This one is the hog bristle, and I love how they didn't go with different types of bristles but the same types of brushes. All of the brushes are different, which makes this set pretty much a go for anyone who wants just, you know, to buy a starter set, or this one perfect set that just has all the brushes for you to be using in your work, to be used in your work. And it comes with this cute, really sleek pouch that already got a little dirty, but oh well, you know, it's my working set. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. Bye bye.